I think sound is a huge part of the experience. It's a great emotional tool, and people who were very clever with sound and creating sound effects that felt more like things should sound rather than what they did sound like recognize, I think, what a huge part of the dreaming experience of movies is about.
I had always encouraged Brad and JJ to work together. You know, they had never worked together before, and I had such an intense working relationship with Brad and one with JJ, so I had these two different families who kind of had never crossed paths. And I always thought that they would be great together doing something. And I remember JJ saying, well, do you think he might be interested in this? And I was like, well, you have to call him and ask him. I think it would be a great opportunity for him to get his feet wet in live action with him. So they did, and in this process of trying to figure out if it could work, if it was right for him, not right for him, this went on for a little while, but eventually he signed on, and from then on it was just, you know, obviously we were going to work together on it, and I was just really excited to see what Brad Bird would do with a Mission Impossible movie.
I think about sound fairly early on, and I start messing around with sound early on. I mean, the temp tracks that I have are a little more elaborate than some people's.
I think this is a new level for Mission Impossible in the sense that it has the action, it has Tom Cruise, it has all the things that the fans expect in a Mission Impossible film. Gary has a way of mixing that gives, you know, there's some high moments and there's some quiet moments. There's this wonderful variety that makes it very pleasurable to watch. It's not a bombastic film from start to finish that leaves you with a headache and exhausted. It's a really pleasurable experience to watch this film.
I think that the way Brad looks at sound, particularly because he's from animation, where you have nothing, I think this was in some ways kind of freeing for him because all the sound came with the shots. You didn't have to fill in all the footsteps, you didn't have to fill in all the foley, and he didn't have to sort of sweat the teeny tiny details. He only had to worry about the whole because so much of it was already in place.
It's very easy to let the audience know that this is a Mission Impossible movie when you're working with one of the greatest themes ever written, which is, of course, the Mission Impossible main theme by Lalo Schifrin. And Lalo wrote such an indelible theme that you just, you know, the second you hear it, it just gets you pumped. So it's fun to be able to kind of twist it, turn it, use it in many different ways. And the new Mission Impossible is much more of a roller coaster thrill ride. You know, I liken it, it's more Indiana Jones than anything else. And it's a lot of fun. The stakes are there, but there's still an amazing sense of humor that Brad was able to instill in the movie, which carries it along.
I think that there is a tendency, the way there is in a lot of areas of filmmaking, to think that more of something means more effective. And the absence of sound is just as effective a tool as sound itself. If you're specific about where you eliminate sound and where you minimize sound. I try hard in my films not to have one consistent level of sound, but to have, you know, lots of sound and then moments where your ears really rest and also have to look for sound a little bit, this little stuff.
This film is different in that it takes you all over the world, you know, in a way that we wanted to announce you're going all over the world. So if you're in Russia, we wanted it to sound like you're in Russia. When you get to India, you're in India. And of course, when you're in Dubai, we want you to feel like, yep, you're in Dubai. And that was fun. So the orchestration changed quite a lot from locale to locale.
There's a ton of Russian in this film, and a lot of it was shot with Czech actors. Conveniently, we have a man who works here, Dmitry Makarov, who is from St. Petersburg, so he watched the whole film with me. He said, accent, 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 replace, 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 replace. You can't say that, that's swearing, that kind of thing. So he went through the whole thing with me, which was great for the spotting, because if I had to bring someone else in, it would have been a whole other thing. And then because he was so intimate with the film, he actually came with me to Tom Cruise's ADR sessions where we did the Russian, and he helped coach Tom Cruise with it with another lady from LA named Miriam help and Dimitri help, and they coached Tom Cruise through, even though neither one of them had ever done anything like that before, but because they were actual Russian speakers, it was kind of cool.
There's a really exciting scene where Tom is climbing the outside of the building with these gloves that adhere to the glass. And so it's a very tense scene from the get-go. And somehow Gary and Will and Ken Fisher, who cut the sound effects in the scene, managed to build that up to be something really stressful to watch, in my opinion.
We're rolling.
Ready? We're a mile and a half above the Earth on the tallest building on the planet, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, and we're filming a scene where Tom Cruise is climbing on the outside of the building.
Okay, Tom, we're ready to go.
Stepping out, guys.
This is just another day at work on Mission Impossible.
3, 2, 1, action! So, Tom, we're just going to do another one from this angle. This angle is great.
The stuff in Dubai, we were able to use some of the production. The breaths and efforts were added just because that's the stuff that gets lost first. We were able to use a lot of the production in there. They didn't shoot everything with IMAX cam, so everything that's not IMAX cam, the scenes in the hotel room in there, some is pristinely recorded, really beautifully done. So we could use that. But so if you can't tell those differences, then it's a good, to me, that's a good track. Andy Nelson was mixing it. How can you go wrong? It's Andy. You know, he's awesome.
Action!
Tom is amazing to work with because he's like, he listens. He listens to you, he wants to hear what you have to say, he gives his ideas of what he thinks, and he's very centered on what's going to help the story the best. And I really do love working with him because of that. And he's one of those guys you put up in front of the orchestra and you're like, all right, you're going to conduct the Mission Impossible theme. He goes, okay, show me how to do it. I'll give it a shot. You know, he's always willing to do it, as you can tell because he hung from that building, you know, thousands of feet in the air. I don't know a lot of people that would do that. I certainly wouldn't, but the thing that I learned from him, he's just always doing his best work no matter what. He wants to do the best he can.
Tom has focus like nobody else. I mean, he's okay. He's like, okay, let's go. Walks in, okay, take one. And he's like, you're like, okay. And you just kind of start going. He's got more focus probably than anyone I've ever been around ever before. He's just like laser sharp, just looks at you. Kind of, he talks to Brad that way. It's like,
He's a very cinematic director. He's not just like in there tight close-ups all the time. He's a very cinematic director who wants to engross the audience with, you know, he'll give you the wide shot and just hang on the wide shot for a while. He wants you to kind of feel a part of what's going on in the film. So he's not just going to cut you in, cut you out. He gives you a chance to actually revel in what you're looking at, which is fun. So yeah, which then in turn gives me a chance to have some fun with the music and do these really kind of big sweeping themes like we had in Dubai. Or even in Russia, there was a kind of, we used a big Russian men's choir to kind of announce we're in Russia. So he's very old school in that sense. And I always, what I said to him, and he got mad at me for saying this, I was like, this is going to be like if David Lean directed a Mission Impossible movie. It's going to be awesome. And he was like, oh, why did you say that? Because he loves David Lean. He's like, why did you say that? I don't need that pressure.
This is a good time to ask me what I like most about the work I'm doing, because this is at the end of a film. When you're at the end, you know, if you've lived to tell the tale, you know, you're feeling more. If you asked me at the beginning, I'd probably be tearing my hair out. I just think it's a fantastic medium. I think that if the arts didn't exist, I would be lost. I don't know what I would do with my life. And film to me is the greatest medium because it combines every other art into it. You know, you have photography, you have performance, you have writing, you have composition, you have color, music, sound, movement. It's all in movies. Whether it's animated or live action, it's a collection and a collision point of all the arts. So it's very chaotic and exhausting, but it's also incredibly satisfying.